Hello. During the time I've been making these videos, I have from time to time received comments, quite a few comments from people saying, why are you always so negative? Why are you always complaining? Why don't you come up with some suggestions for how things might be better? And in my defense, I would say, well, frankly, there's been quite a lot to complain about in the last few years. But nonetheless, I thought today, for a change, I would come up with some suggestions for how things might be improved in this country. And so I've got about 10 suggestions, and they are these. The first, which is not very exciting, but is really important, is electoral reform. You know, we have in this country this absolutely crazy first past the post system which is undemocratic, it's unfair. It means that if you live in a safe constituency, your vote is effectively worthless. And I think we're the only country in the whole of Europe, with the exception of Belarus, that still has first past the post. It's ridiculous, and you end up with situations as we've got now, where the Labour Party, on 33% of the votes cast at the last general election, have got a majority of 174, 67% of the seats in Parliament. And so it looks as though, it looked to any outside observer, that the government was incredibly popular, unbelievably popular, whereas in fact just over a third of people voted for them. It's unrepresentative, and it's ridiculous. The opposition to a proportional representation is that you tend to get coalitions. Well, that would probably be better. Frankly, if we had a coalition right now, it might well be better, because the government is certainly struggling and disappointing profoundly, I think. Concerning Parliament, my second suggestion is that I think MPs should not have outside interests. I think it's quite wrong that someone becomes a member of Parliament, and it's an extremely responsible job, but it's quite a big job. I mean, you look after the interests of thousands and thousands of constituents, and if at the same time you're running some other business, or you're involved in some other profession, or you're a lawyer or whatever, it seems wrong to me. And I think also your loyalties are stretched from time to time, I'm sure. And you get these ridiculous circumstances, such as with Nigel Farage right now, where it's said that during his first 7 or 8 months as a member of Parliament, he'd earned something like £1.2 million on side hustles. Well, I mean, that's not if you're earning that sort of level, almost 10 times or more than 10 times what you're getting as a salary as an MP, you're earning on the side. Your loyalties are going to be well and truly divided. And I think if people say, well, if I can't give up my job, I'm not going to become an MP, well, so be it. Don't become an MP. I think an MP should be an MP, and that's that. I think also we want to look at media ownership. I think it's quite wrong that the owners of most of our national newspapers live in other countries and pay taxes in other countries, as is the case with the majority owner of GB News, I believe. The fact that you've got Rupert Murdoch and Lord Rothermere paying taxes elsewhere, whilst having such huge influence on the UK population, seems to be absolutely wrong. I think I would make it a law that if you own more than 10% of any national broadcast or any national newspaper, that you must be resident and paying tax in the UK. It seems to me absolutely, utterly crazy. Now, I think we all know that the government realises that the only way we get out of the mess we're in is by going for growth and expanding the economy, and the only way you do that is by getting people to start businesses. And so I think you have to make it really, really easy for people to start businesses, and you have to give them a great deal of support. One of the problems in starting a business is that you're immediately going to have to pay a huge amount of rent and council tax and so on. And I think there should be schemes whereby rent and rates are subsidised for the first, say, 6 months or whatever, maybe longer, in order for people to at least have a go and get started. Because we all know that majority of businesses fail fairly soon, but the more business you start, the more chances are there going to be successes. And as I've said often before, every single big business in the world, all the giant businesses, they all began as startups somewhere. And so I think you have to try and develop some sort of culture of wanting to start business. I think also, people on benefits can't really do anything, and if you're on benefits and you want to earn a little bit of money on the side, you can't, because you're going to lose all your benefits if they find out about it. I think schemes should be introduced, sort of very, very, very modest schemes, whereby you might be able to earn a few pounds. Might have a limit of a couple of £1,000 in 6 months by starting a little business, doing a bit on the side, because if not, you'll do it illegally anyway. But if there was a scheme whereby you didn't lose all your benefits by starting a little business, at least give you a chance to have a go. And a lot of these people who are sat home playing their PlayStations and things might decide to go out and have a try. I think you have to do everything possible to create a culture whereby starting a business is a real option, and give people a chance to try. And kind of following on from that, I think whereas HMRC are spending, they keep telling us they're spending all this money and taking on more people in order to go after benefits cheats and to go after people who are selling, bicycle on eBay and all the rest of it. I mean, just don't bother with all that stuff. I mean, obviously you can't let it go completely, but I mean, if somebody sells something for a few £100 on eBay, does it really matter when at the same time you've got the likes of, the Michel Mon types who are making fortunes and transferring money to offshore accounts and so on. And when you've got all these money launderers, I mean, I know of people who are money laundering right now. They've come to this country, set up businesses, and they've just got nothing to worry about, and never bothered by HMRC, never bothered by anybody. And it's almost the situation is almost where everybody knows that you just have to worry about paying tax in the UK. These are the people you've got to be going after, and leave the little people. Besides which, if you catch one big fish, I mean, it pays for thousands of small ones. So I think the priority of HMRC should be to go after the big people, go after the people who are using offshore accounts and using tax havens and so on. And be really tough with them. But it seems to me there are so few prosecutions of people who are taking advantage of our famous, very famous, world famous status as the capital of money laundering. Another thing I'd like to do, I think I would do, is have a look at council tax on houses, because I think it's so absurd now and it's so utterly unfair. There's in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, the highest tax you pay, council tax, is £3,138.92. Now the average property value in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, I think, is £2.5 million. There is a flat at the top of Sloane Square at the moment, that's Sloane Street, which has been on sale for some time, and it's on sale for £175 million. There's a whole street known as Millionaires Row, where the houses are all sort of 40, 50, 60, up to £100 million each. They're all paying £3,000 a year in council tax. Is that fair? Where there are poor towns and all over the country, there are people are struggling to pay council tax. It's absolute madness. Of course, the government, they'll say, we couldn't revalue all the houses. Well, you might have to. It was done once, do it again. And it might cost a lot to revalue all the properties in the country. But really, where in effect people who have got very, very wealthy properties, they're paying what for them is virtually nothing. Seems to me absolutely ridiculous. On the same subject, I think people who have empty properties should be really, really taxed. I'd be in favour of doubling, trebling, quadrupling the council tax for any empty property that's left vacant for whatever reason. There are people who've got second homes in Cornwall. They've got all these houses, nice houses, £200,000-300,000 each, and they only go there 2 weeks of the year. The rest of the year they're empty. And you've got all these people, and it's a big, big problem. This I've mentioned it several times before. You've got people from all over the world who've got lots and lots of dirty money, and they say, well, where can we put it where it's going to be safe? Well, the safest place on earth is a property in London. And so they come to London. There's a whole organisation of lawyers and accountants and all the rest of it. They know how to put the money into tax havens, British tax havens, and they know how to disguise it all, and they know how to buy properties with companies and one thing and another, and they know they're never going to get prosecuted because they never are. And this is a huge. I mean, the whole of London is some kind of a money box for dirty money from all over the world. You know, I have a friend I mentioned once before who lives in Kensington. He lives opposite a row of houses. I think about 20 houses in this row, and each house sells for about 12 million. And he's been there for years and years and years. And he says only one house ever has a light on in it. The rest are all in darkness. And all these houses are owned by people from all over the world who just got their money there because it's safe. And when we have a housing crisis, I'm not suggesting for one moment that a row of houses in Kensington worth £12 million each are going to do much to solve the housing crisis. But I think it just it ripples out, you know, and property prices here are so high anyway. It's quite absurd, and we know now that BlackRock and all the rest are moving in to buy property in the UK, which they'll rent back to us, which again is not good. And as we all know, if you have to pay so much of your income in rent or in mortgage repayments, well, you haven't got any money left to do anything else and to spend in the economy and help revive it. I mean, property prices are a big problem anyway. But second homes, I think, should really be looked at, and property should be revalued. Next thing I would want to do is to really look at AI, because AI is going to transform everything, and I think it's important that we're ahead in this. And I think AI should be taught in schools. It probably is already, but I think if it's not, it should be an absolute priority subject, because it's going to be more important than almost any other subject. And I think also where AI can take over a lot of the functions of governments and local government as well, I think it should be encouraged to do so. I think we have a problem that it's going to create a lot of unemployment, but you can't go ahead on the basis that you're going to keep AI out in order to keep people employed. It just won't work. Sooner or later, we have to embrace AI, and it's going to be very much sooner, I think, than most people think. And so, priority to AI, I think, is really, really important. And so those are just some of the things that I think government should be thinking about, and some of the things we should be doing. Oh, and I would also like to reintroduce capital punishment, but only for fly tippers. Now, I think that all the suggestions I've made are actually perfectly sensible, perfectly reasonable, and perfectly possible, but they would need some sort of imagination, some sort of political courage, and I think these are things that are very much lacking in the present government. And indeed, when you look at the present state of affairs, you look at the upcoming budget, you look at the challenge to Starmer's leadership, and you look at the unemployment figures beginning to go up and so on, and there's not an awful lot to be very optimistic about. And so I think we're probably going to muddle along with the economy just continuing to deteriorate. I don't see any way of turning it around without some big changes. But anyway, no doubt that'll mean that I shall resume my normal pessimistic countenance next week. If you watched this far, thank you very much indeed. If you haven't already had a look at my new channel, I'd be grateful if you'd have a quick look. It's I'll leave the link down below. And so if you've watched this far, thank you very much indeed. And until next week, bye for now.